you believe I pressed the wrong button? The wrong song was going to play. Not okay. But it's a Monday, so what can you say? But it's to be expected. Yes, Mondays can be rough. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, that show on the internet that answers your traffic and police questions. It's the 18th of September, 2023, and we got stuff and things to talk about. So my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and let's get going. Let's get into it. Oh, excited to be here. We're going to talk about a bunch of things we're going to do. Well, first of all, let me tell you how you can get involved. Like, how do you ask questions? How do you do that stuff? Well, I'm glad you asked. First of all, you are watching on one of the platforms we're streaming on, which means you're either on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, or the platform formerly known as Twitter, now lovingly referred to as X, which still doesn't work the way we want it to. That's right. We would prefer if we could actually get questions from it, but it doesn't work. But you can go to TrafficCop.ca and hit the link, or just go to YouTube.TrafficCop.ca. Go to our YouTube page. Of course, subscribe, follow us, and then, ask questions, because that's what we're here for. This is a show that is entirely here for your benefit. We want to answer your questions. There's no mysteries involved. We want you to know stuff and things. Why do I think I should change? No, okay, I can leave that. I want to change the background. I want to zoom in a little bit. We want to get things going for you. We want you to have the answers to questions so you don't end up getting caught making errors on the road, getting caught making those errors by police. And of course, that means you're going to get a ticket. Your insurance is going to go up. All sorts of bad things happen. That doesn't sound like fun. And it could be avoided, by just not breaking the law, because you did the research, you found out, and you done learned something. We're all about learning. And yeah. I'm recovering from the weekend. What can I say? All right. Today is a Vision Zero day, like every other day. Vision Zero is a concept, and it is a concept that says we will try and aim for zero serious injuries, zero deaths on our roads. So how do we do that? Well, let's divide this into police and government, because the police side of it is easy. We educate and we enforce, and that's it. We educate people what the rules are. We want to motivate people to do the right thing. And when that education doesn't work, we educate through enforcement. I guess both are in education. Education through enforcement means we give you tickets, and that should resolve the issue. If you get a ticket, well, you might not do it again because it didn't feel good. It's all about the feels. Now, if you get a ticket and then you continue to break the law, the Ministry of Transportation gets involved. They take away your license, and hopefully that will dissuade you from driving again. But at the end of the day, we don't design roads. That's the city. We don't do the engineering. That's the city. And they're involved with this. But we have a Vision Zero enforcement team. And what do? Well, they go look for the big four. They do things they look for drivers who are choosing to engage in behaviors like speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, impaired driving. Those behaviors lead to serious injury and death. And that's why they're out there. They are currently in 14th Division and 42 Division, Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, Malvern, Agincourt, Milliken, Rouge, Scarborough. And they're out there to meet drivers who engage in behaviors that are unacceptable. Yeah, it's a thing. Lots of great work being done by that team. Okay, if you've got questions, ask away. But let's have a look and see who's here to say hello. Akela Draconis, first in the room. Oh, and by the way, if you're on TikTok, my wife has graciously offered to moderate again today because Dave decided to not be here. So, and JD not here. And who else is not here? We have people who just they're not here. But my wife showed up, and I thank you, because she's awesome. So greetings and salutations from the Traffic Management Center in Toronto, from Akela. We've got, so Akela has a meeting, thus will be watching us. Did you know you can replay YouTube's in fast forward? I learned that from Akela, and I do that now. If I want to I listen to my podcasts at high speed because I have no time to listen to an hour book or an hour file in an hour. I need to make that like less, maybe half an hour, and I can listen at high speed. We got Tim Shallow who says, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Tim. Happy Monday from Zombie. And let's get right into the questions, because we've got one that's coming in from the Talk of Tick. Do you guys actually look into traffic complaints? Yes. They are assigned to the divisions in which they take place. So traffic services doesn't see them. The local division where the traffic complaint is affiliated or associated with deals with them. Now, there's some that are highway related. That becomes ours. And yeah, we do. We absolutely look at them. Now, a traffic complaint, there's two types. Either there's one about a neighborhood complaint, it's something that's happening generally in an area, and then there's one about a specific driver. Both get looked into. And very often that fuels, when it's neighborhood, it fuels the enforcement side of things, where we start sending officers to a particular area to deal with it. Is driving on bike lane without a helmet illegal? Depends on how old you are. Depends what you're riding. So a bicycle, truly a bicycle, no electric, nothing, you must be wearing a helmet if you're under the age of 18. As soon as you're 18, you're allowed to make bad decisions, poor choices, and be unsafe from the perspective of helmet or no helmet. Do you see, I'm trying to paint a picture that helmets are a good idea. Many people from the cycling community don't like that I do that, but I am an advocate for protecting your noggin. I think helmets protect you. They don't prevent injury or don't prevent collision, but they do prevent head injuries. They don't eliminate the chance, but they reduce the amount of damage and injury. Yeah, and one particular person who got really bent out of shape with me for saying that helmets are a safety thing that are good, and he doesn't think so, so he doesn't make his daughter wear one. Yeah. Anyway. So the answer is, and I meant to continue with that. If you're on an e-bike, you must always wear a helmet. See, that's where I was going with that before I went to the side. Okay. When a cop loses in court over a ticket, is that a strike on their career record? No. We present the information, and the rest is up to the court. And if they choose to convict, they choose to convict. This isn't a game where we get points, a high score. There's no free toaster for having the most number of convictions. Just because we don't get a conviction on a charge we laid doesn't change it all for us. Like, not one iota, nothing. And we're not vested. It doesn't, like, some people think that we get something out of issuing a ticket other than holding drivers accountable and hopefully educating them. There's no personal benefit or loss if we don't get a conviction. So no, we don't care. We'd like you to be held accountable. That's why we write the ticket. But other than personal, scorekeeping, like, have I ever lost? I've given perfect evidence on a perfect situation where the person was abso-freaking-lutely guilty. And then the justice of the peace said to me, I believe you, officer, but you know what? I believe the other person too. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? I'm still here. It didn't change a thing. Stephen Bell wants to know how my weekend was. It was good. And I can't wait to do it again next weekend, because weekends are what I look forward to weekends. Thanks for asking, by the way. I hope your weekend was good. iOS 17 update today. Yes, I tried to update already. It didn't work. Let me see if I can update again or try again. Live and on the air. Let's try and update a computer. No, it's not showing available yet. So I don't know if it's published or what time it's going to be published. Whenever it invites me to do it, I will do it. And what I don't care about any of the features other than I am really looking forward to getting more than 2 terabytes of online storage. I will be upgrading from a 2 terabyte plan to more. So I think it's 6 or 12 terabytes in the next ways up, because I'm out of storage space. Yes. I put a lot of files and share them amongst multiple Apple devices. Okay. Are electric scooters legal? Depends. Electric scooters are not legal in any way, shape, or form in the city of Toronto. They are prohibited here. $110 ticket under the bylaw for using one on the road, using one on the sidewalk. They are not permitted. When you talk about, are they permitted elsewhere, like in jurisdictions that allow them? Depends. If they're legal, they conform to the pilot project. You can get a link and get the details for that pilot at ASKaTrafficCop.TrafficCop.ca under useful links. You can't have one that's capable of going more than 24 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. You can't have one with a motor more than 500 watts. You can't carry any cargo. You can't put a seat on them. And that's basically the deal. If they conform to those rules, then they can be operated in jurisdictions that allow them. But if they go 25 kilometers an hour, on a flat surface. If they have a seat, if they carry cargo, they're not legal, and you can get significant charges. Oh yeah, and the one wheels, the unicycles, electric unicycles, absolutely prohibited. They are nothing. In fact, unsafe motor vehicles on top of everything else. Yes. Heyo to Jeff, who says heyo. And we've got, oh, this is good. A couple questions in the queue. Let's go and see this. What happens if I don't pay a ticket at all? Depends on the kind of ticket. If it's a ticket on your license will be suspended, and you won't be able to drive. And if you drive while it's suspended, you get new tickets, and they're serious. What else? If you don't pay tickets that are against your plate, well, you'll get your license plate suspended, and other things happen to you. So any way you cut it, you need to pay your tickets. Yeah. What happens if you get caught riding a dirt bike on the road, on the highway, which is any road in the province of Ontario? If you're talking about highway and you meant expressway, well, that's a controlled access highway, and there may be additional charges. But at very least, an off-road bike is not permitted on the road. It's uninsured. It's unplated, and it has no headlights, no horn. It's an unsafe motor vehicle. Doesn't meet the requirements for the road. So you're looking at a whole bunch of tickets, whole bunch. And the insurance segment of it, it just alone, because maybe you have a trail insurance. It's not road insurance. $5,000 to $25,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail just on that element, which is significant, I think. If you're not licensed, you'll have tickets in that relation, like in that area too. A whole bunch of tickets, and we'd be looking to relay all of them. It's not one of those oopsie-doos, you made a boo-boo. No, we'll lay all the charges. What is this? I have a wall of my, it updated just as I went to click it. Chase says, I have a wall of my previous license plates in the basement. Since they are ministry property, are they technically supposed to be returned? In that case, I don't have a wall. They are technically ministry property, but you paid for them in terms of they're registered to you too. They're still associated with you. Like you wouldn't want to put them on somebody else's car. That would be a problem. But I don't think there's any obligation to return them, but they could be taken from you if you were being misused. I'm guessing here because I don't think there's an obligation to return them because you could use them on another vehicle. They're just things that you paid for that are assigned in your name. Okay. A court loss might not even be a real loss. Judge could have taken sympathy on the person. True. Losing, this is going back to the question about, is there any negative impact on not getting a conviction? Absolutely. Very often the court will impose a lesser fine, a lesser conviction to a lesser and included offense. So you charge them for stunt and they get something like, I don't know, unsafe move. I don't know if those are actually associated. I'm just picking two random things, but they can do what they want. That's up to them after that. I've heard of officers who don't even stay to listen to the conviction. They leave after they provide their evidence because they're no longer involved in the process. Whatever the court does afterwards is up to them. Question on Instagram from Dom Paule. Are you allowed to cross a double line on a 2-lane road to pass someone on a bike? In the province of Ontario, there's no fine or charge associated with crossing a single, double, hashed, or solid line. There's no charge. Whatever you do while doing that, if it leads to collision, you're responsible for it. Simple as that. Do you have to give the cyclist a meter of space when passing? You do. If that causes you to go over the lane, then you need to do that. However, you have to do it most safely. If you cause a collision while doing that, there's a problem, and you're going to be responsible for that, which is what I said the first time. Just say it 6 times in different ways and it's all the same. Why is window tint such a big deal? I love the question. Window tint reduces the amount of light that comes through your window. I know, shocking, right? Light is what your eyes use to see. Equally, we need to see inside your vehicle. We need to see if you're wearing your seatbelt, using your cell phone, drinking alcohol, get a description of the driver to make sure that they are who we expect to be there. And if they're not, we need to see inside your car. So there's a couple of different charges. Well, in fact, there's 3 big ones. The first is obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. That means I am not seeing inside your car and I need to. That's a charge, $110. Second is obscure driver's view. That's you being able to look outside. If it's too dark and you're not able to see properly, whether you think so or not is irrelevant, whether I think so or not. And that would be a second charge, $110. And finally, if it's just so dark that it's an unsafe motor vehicle as a result of it, we're going to take your license plates. We're going to take your license plates because your vehicle is not safe. In fact, to certify a vehicle in Ontario, there are limits as to how much tint you can have, and those are separate from the other charges that I've mentioned with the obscuring your view or our view into your vehicle. What else? There is something else. The older you are, the more light you need to see, so it really does become a concern. It is possible to have legal tint during the day, which becomes illegal at night because atmospheric conditions obviously play a role into how well you can see and how well I can see inside your vehicle. So things to consider. Many people put tint on their windows and they don't take into consideration the fact that your windows came with a level of tint already. So if you have 5% light being blocked or 10% light being blocked based on the factory window, and you add 30%, but 30% is legal, 30% for certification is legal, well, now you've compounded. You've got the 10% plus the 30%. You have more tint, way more tint than is legal, which is why the mechanics have to test your glass. Also, windshield tint not permitted at all. Any windshield tint, your vehicle is unsafe. Why is it a big deal? We want people to be safe. We want people to see, and that's kind of the whole idea of driving. You got to see. In order to, you got to see. That's important. All right. Weston, what is this? Stephen Bell went to Western something. Fry? Okay. Am I still on duty? Are police officer TikToker allowed? It depends on your agency. I have specific permission to be on TikTok. We have over 631,000 followers on that platform alone, and we feel strongly that we need to be here for you. So that is why we're on TikTok. It's the largest audience we have, and we will continue to be here as long as we can. We are not broadcasting directly using the app. We are using RTMP stream, which means we're not actually serving any information. There's nothing to take from us except our content. We're feeding it directly through a restream in the back end. But we have permission to be here. Others could do the same thing. Every agency will make their own decision, but that's ultimately. But I am still on duty as a police officer right here, right now. Oh. Can a G1 driver get a license back after a careless driving charge? Did you lose your license? Careless driving carries 6 demerit points on conviction, which means that you would trigger a 30-day suspension for your first conviction. And afterwards, you'd have to get a reinstatement. You'd have to get it back. You could get it back, but you'd have to apply to get it back. And that's a thing. Yeah. So yeah, it's not a permanent thing. If you did it 3 times, if you had 3 charges that triggered 2 suspensions, and then ultimately you got kicked out of the program, you'd have to reapply from the beginning. But it's not over forever. Oh, interesting question. Is there a fine for your vehicle overhanging your driveway and parking half on the sidewalk? Yes. I don't know what it is, but it does exist because you're not allowed to park on the sidewalk. You can't encroach on the sidewalk. That would be a parking offense, not a driving offense. And I don't know what the offense would, I don't know what the fine would be, but it would be against the law. I don't think they spend a lot of time looking for that. It's more of an issue in the winter when they're driving snowplows and taking the front bumper off your car, but it is what it is. What is this? Oh, question following up about tint, because tint is one of the most popular things we've ever spoken about, ever. The question is from, I don't know how to pronounce your name, we're going to skip that. What about UV reflective tint that doesn't change the darkness level of the windshield? It only blocks UV lanes. Well, here's the big thing. This is coming through Instagram, which is why I'm looking at Instagram. It is still illegal. You can't have reflective tint on the windshield or on the windows directly left and right of the driver because it prohibits or stops people from being able to look in. We need to be able to look in. So it's still against the law. Your windshield comes with UV tinting or filtering on it. It's already coated, at least on modern vehicles. And there's no need to put more tint on because it's already there. But if you restrict more light, if you put reflective coatings on, it's against the law, even if it doesn't reduce the the amount of light that is inside your vehicle because you're not tinting. It's reflective. It's not allowed. Can I have an offensive sticker on the back of your car? Well, not my car, but their car. Depends on what you're putting. Is it racism? Is it hate speech? Is it offensive to whom and by how? There's a lot of things out in the world now that could be cause for complaint. And can you have it? Depends on whether or not it violates any laws. Just having a sticker that people don't like. There's lots of stickers we don't like. Somebody might not like one government or like another, and that's offensive to the other group. So there's all sorts of things. Some things are protected, other things you might find yourself getting into trouble. Motorcyclists riding the white line separating lanes, yes or no? I mean, yes or no, do they do it, or yes or no, is it legal? You're talking about lane splitting. Riding the dotted line is illegal. It is not permissible. It can be either careless driving, stunt driving, or even criminal dangerous driving, depending on the observations of an officer. It is not nice. Yeah, that's the deal. It's generally not nice. Oh, Peel Police 11 Division says hello to one of the best traffic officers. Well, thank you very much. A message passed on from our moderator, letting me know that there was a comment made. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And when are we going to get? We need to do a collab with Peel. That's been a long time. We've been talking about it for a long time. We need to actually do that. We need collabs. Collabs everywhere. Collabs make the world go round. Okay. So back to lane splitting. Yeah, not legal at all. But you could go from mild uncomfortable tickets to major uncomfortable tickets to the point where we're talking criminal charges. Not allowed. Okay. What we got here? Scrolling. Okay. Hey, Avandro's back. How's it going? Long time no see. Donnie Soko says, hello, good morning. I wanted to ask you if there was anything like that Ford test driving program that you talked about recently, and if there will be others like it. Great question. So Ford Driving Skills for Life is an annual thing, and I don't know when what next year's dates are. However, I've expressed my interest in remaining involved, so I hope to be able to share that information with you as soon as I have it. So please follow us on all our social media platforms, because that's where I'll be posting it once it happens. You can also check out their website and sign up for their mailing list, and they'll let you know. So that's also important. I got some feedback. It was really great. I'm obviously in Toronto, but there was an Edmonton location or event that took place the week after the Toronto event. And based on our advertising of it, people actually went there in droves. They had great numbers. In addition, somebody from Montreal flew to Edmonton to participate based on us letting them know that it was happening. So if that's you, you're hardcore, man. You're hardcore. That's awesome. I really appreciate that you did that. Waleed wants to know if you need college or university to become a police officer or not. You need a grade 12 education at minimum. More is better, but you don't have to have it. It's just a benefit when you're in a competitive process trying to get, when everyone wants the same job. The more education you have, the better you look on paper. But is it absolutely necessary? No, it's not absolutely necessary. I see you're on both platforms. We talked about this already. Talked about that already. Didn't I flag anything yet? How many? Oh, interesting. Okay. Scrolling back. Here we go. I'll flag that. Evandro gets to be my flagged question so I know where you're at. Okay, here's the question. My husband has 8 years driving experience from back home and 2 years AZ here. Can he teach me driving? The big question is as to whether or not that time was credited to his license. So AZ would mean he's qualified as G. The 2 years back home, I'm going to assume if he didn't go into a learner's permit in between, that they credited him. If he's got because of Michael calling them freckles, Michael's one of our regular viewers, participants, friends of the show. He calls them freckles, so we call them freckles. On the front of the driver's license, bottom right corner, there's a mini-me photo. If you follow to the left of that mini-me photo, if there are 4 dots arranged vertically, if he's got them, he's qualified to supervise. They give him the credit. I would expect that he would, but confirm, because nothing would be worse than finding out that he didn't qualify, and then you would be charged for a G1 unaccompanied. That would be bad. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. My friend has what do you have? A Ram 2500 with an orange roof marker lights because of its width. His are currently inoperable. Is there any charge for that? I think there is a charge if they're required by law. Do I know what that charge is? I've never laid it. I can't imagine that being the focus of anybody out there. But if you are required to have them, then they should be functional. Fix them. It was the Western Fair. It was a typo earlier. I was trying to figure out what it was. Okay. How much is the charge for passenger not using seatbelts? I believe it's $240. No demerit points for passengers, unless, of course, we're talking about the driver, and then there are 2 demerit points for no seatbelt. And if there's a child under the age of 16, the driver gets the tickets. That's no fun. All right, what we got here? Oh, cool. A meeting I wasn't able to attend is being rescheduled, so I can attend. Nice. Okay. Did I skip anything? No. Are electric scooters street legal? We talked about this very recently. Maybe you weren't in the room when we talked about it, so I'll talk about it again. They are street legal if compliant and if the municipality allows them. Electric scooters, if we're talking about kick scooters, the stand-up ones with the skateboard deck and the 2 small tires, those are prohibited in the city of Toronto anywhere. Doesn't matter, sidewalk, park, road, not allowed, period. $110 as a fine. If you're talking about electric scooters that look like Vespas, that are e-bikes, then they're legal if they're maxed out at 32 kilometers an hour, not capable of going beyond 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, and have no more than 500-watt motor, not be more than 120 kilos, have functioning pedals attached. Those are for if that's what you meant by scooter. The question really has to be more specific. I need to know what you want to know, and then I tell you. But let me know if I covered it for you. Okay. We covered this. Can I turn right in front of a bus? Oh, so can I turn right in front of a bus that's taking on passengers? I would suggest you have some patience and wait. If you are making a right turn and you're beside the bus, you're making an improper turn. If you're able to get in, passing the bus, and then getting into the right turn lane and making safely the right turn, that would be legal, as long as you can safely do it. But again, turning from the not the right turn lane, but the lane beside it, that would be illegal. I think I covered it. Okay. How long did it take? Excuse me. I'm really looking. It's been 2 weeks. I can't stand this coffee business. Not coffee. I like coffee. Coughing business. How long did it take you to become an officer? Easy or hard? I became an auxiliary officer because there was a hiring freeze. Auxiliary officer is a volunteer position. And then I became a court officer the same year because there was still a hiring freeze, but gosh darn it, there was so many cool things available, and became a court officer, which was fantastic. And then I got really comfortable. I got promoted. I was an auxiliary sergeant and a supervisor within court services. And yeah, I did that for a while. I enjoyed it. And then I became a court officer. I became a police officer. I applied and got in. That process was interrupted because there was a hiring freeze during my application process. So I was in the background stage, and then I got a call saying, we're going to, not hire anybody this year. I think that was the same day that Sergeant Ryan Russell was killed. I got the phone call. I heard the chief say that there was a freeze on television, and got a call from my background officer, and also, of course, found out that he was that Sergeant Ryan Russell was killed. I'm pretty sure that all happened on the same day. Either way, it was bad news all around. And then a couple of years later, I think it was a couple of years, they gave me a call and they reactivated my process, and then I got hired, and that was it. The actual process of becoming a police officer was awesome. I really enjoyed police college. I enjoyed all that. Now, let me tell you a little bit about becoming a police officer, since we're talking about it. There are things you need to know in terms of the process, the requirements. You need to be a Canadian citizen or PR status, permanent resident of Canada, 18 years of age or older, physically and mentally able to perform the duties of the position, having regard to your own safety and the safety of members of the public, successfully completed at least 4 years of secondary school education or its equivalent, and be of good moral character and habits, meaning you are an individual that other people view as being trustworthy and having integrity. Integrity is actually a really big thing, I think. Not just I think, it is. It is a really big thing. Then it says, in addition, you must have no criminal convictions for which a pardon is not being granted, possess a valid driver's license with no more than 6 accumulated demerit points that permit you to drive an automobile in Ontario with full driving privileges, have a current certification in CPR and first aid, possess a valid OACP certificate, which has changed since I've gone on, so you got to check with them as to what that is. You have to meet the hearing standards, vision standards, security clearance, and physically ready and able to achieve stage 7 on the shuttle run and pass the prep test. That was the most miserable thing ever for me. I did not like that. That was not fun. That part was not fun. I'm a big guy. Big guys don't like start and stop. You give me a run in one direction, no problem. Object in motion stays in motion. Stop and turn around and start up again, not fun. Just saying. Nightmares. That beep test sound is horrible. Shift schedules. You have to understand that you're going to work shifts. You're going to miss family events, and it's not going to be fun sometimes. But that's it. Hey, if that sounds great for you, go apply. If you can meet those requirements now, go apply. If you can't, well, or if it doesn't sound good to you, maybe you want to look at something else, like parking enforcement officer, communications operator, special constables, or maybe one of the many civilian roles. I say many. There's 7 currently. What do we have? Communications operator, mail courier. It's mail, like postal courier. We have a mail system. We have trucks that drive all over the city taking mail internally, to different places within the service. Intermediate program or analyst, administrative assistant, audit, and quality assurance. The YIPI program, of course, is still looking for applicants. Criminal intelligence analyst and intermediate technical analyst in radio infrastructure. Some opportunities. They're all important. You don't necessarily have to be wearing a uniform to serve your community. Doing it this way is making a difference too. In fact, our civilian members make it possible for police officers to do what we do, and they don't get enough kudos. They are awesome, and we need them and appreciate them, so thank you. If you're one of them, thank you. And if you want to become one of them, go online and apply, because these positions won't stay posted forever. You have to post before the due date. Go online, create an application profile, and you can submit your resume, and they give you a call, and hopefully you become a member of this amazing service. See, that was easy. That was easy. There's been a truck parked on the sidewalk by my house all week, makes stroller and wagon hard to maneuver. If you're in the city of Toronto, you can go online and you can report that vehicle as a parking complaint. You should have parking enforcement there and mention in your complaint that it's an accessibility issue. People with strollers and wheelchairs and other mobility issues are going to have a difficult time doing it. Not to mention that it's just absolutely illegal. And if you're outside of the area, and if you're outside of the area, call your local police, or depending on how it's managed, because Toronto Police handles parking in the city of Toronto, but in other jurisdictions it may not be. It may be city. With crossing a solid line, what if there's a sign that says do not cross solid line? Fantastic question. If you have a sign that says do not cross solid line, you have a sign directing you. That sign is enforceable. That sign is what you'd be failing to obey, and that's where you get a ticket. So if there is a sign prohibiting a particular activity for that, where that sign is plus 150 meters, you cannot cross the line, because the sign has the authority, not the line. How many beep, 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 beep cause problems at simple traffic stops? I'm assuming you mean people. How many people cause problems at simple traffic stops? You know what? I don't have stats on that. Sometimes it's simple and sometimes it's not. And people are very often being caught off guard in a state of panic when they get pulled over, because they've been caught. It's not because they didn't do anything, and they've been pulled over and they feel unhappy because they're about to get a ticket, and maybe they were trying to get to work, and maybe that the cost of a ticket and the raise in their insurance is not going to be good for them. However, they did put themselves in that situation. It's their fault. So sometimes people get a little extra. and we do our best not to have that impact anything. Yeah. All right. Can you guys chase bikers when they go at high speed? Well, we tend not to engage in pursuits for simple offenses. Let's put it that way. We don't want to push someone to ride or drive beyond their ability and put others at risk. What we more often do is record the information and then meet them at their homes, and that is the easy way to deal with this. Sometimes we do get involved with pursuits. It really depends on what the offense is and what the conditions are and who's around and everything all in one. Like, everything gets measured all the time. It's not a simple answer. Can someone take a street sign that has fallen? Consequences. It's theft. If it fell on its own, it's still theft. It's city property. Oh, interesting. Okay. Apparently I learned something too. I learned today that section 60 sub 5 of the HTA requires a shop to make a police report if a customer brings in a bullet marked car, up to $500 fine. I've never had cause to look that up, but now I know, and I assume that since it's Chase, that it is accurate, because Chase looks stuff up on a regular. Okay, TikTok question. When they give you a ticket for handheld, how come they bundle it with a fail to start safely? I've never bundled it. I've never bundled it. I don't know. Maybe there's more to the scenario that you've got. Maybe you were doing something in particular when you were on the phone while driving. I've never had a reason to multiply charges in that particular charge. If you did multiple things, they give you multiple tickets. If you did one thing, I don't usually qualify you for bonus points. Can you have a decal across the top of your windshield? The real question here is it decal or decal? Decal or decal? Serious things we want to know here on Ask a Traffic Cop. Something I neglected to do 6 minutes ago is remind everybody who I am and what we're doing here. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. And I do this to help you out, to answer your traffic and police questions, to erase some of the mystery about the Highway Traffic Act, because it can get confusing. We want everyone to get to where they're going safe and sound every day, and education is the best way to start that conversation. So that's what we do here. And then we cough. We also have dad jokes. To answer your question about decals, if the decal is anywhere in the path of a windshield wiper blade, it is deemed to be blocking your view. Driver's view cannot be obstructed by decals or tint, and that is just what it is. So you can't have decals. And you could be found to have an unsafe motor vehicle at that point. At very least, have a driver's view obstructed or obscured, which would be a $110 fine if it was just for that. I would, back window, you can do what you want, as long as you have mirrors that provide a clear view to the rear. But windshield, whole different ball of wax. By the way, this episode and every episode since I started taking episodes and uploading them onto podcast platforms can be watched on or listened to and or watched on podcast platforms after the fact. So our YouTube channel obviously has every episode ever played since before we did the podcast thing. But now, if you'd like to listen to us while you're driving legally without using your data, synchronize your phone to our channel, subscribe to us wherever your podcast delight may be, and then you listen to us while you drive. It's a pretty cool way. So the question on TikTok is 2-lane road, two-way, stop, car facing me, turning left, me right. I got to start this again. 2-lane road, two-way stop, car facing me, turning left, me right. He was there first, but 10-second delay. Who has the right of way? So the other vehicle is just not responding. They're otherwise occupied. If they were there first, they're technically there to go first. But you're saying two-way stop. So are you talking about you're crossing a main road? I need to know a little more. Either way, if they're not doing anything and you can make the move safely after you've given them, reasonable amount of time to make a decision, you go. You can't wait there forever. That would be, what is that called? It's called a Canadian standoff, when everyone's just waiting around, being nice to the other person. Yeah, but I don't. The 2-lane road, 2-way stop thing is confusing. Is it you have a stop sign because you're about to enter a main road from a side road? That changes things a little bit. Stephen Bell says, I don't think you've been asked this question before, but what is the fine for no bike light on a dark time for a pedal bike? That's a good question. And I don't know if I have been asked that before, but I will have a look and see. So hang on one second. We're going to look for bicycle. Oh, come on. No, I can't look it up because my account apparently needs to be renewed. Can I log in? Maybe it'll work. Hang on. It's probably going to tell me my account has expired. My subscription is expired. Well, I got to pay $10 and do it again. So I'm not going to answer this question because it's too much work. If I can't fuzzy search it, we'll come back to it later. Excuse me. Yes, coughing is no fun. I do not like it. Okay, I flagged that. We'll come back. Hopefully, maybe, possibly, if not today, tomorrow. If someone pulls on front of a motorcycle, causing them to crash, but there was no contact, okay? Someone pulls there. So if the movement of a motor vehicle causes a collision, the vehicle's involved, right? So someone changes lanes in front of you, you make a response that causes a collision. They are indirectly, or even though there's no contact, they're involved. I hope that answers your question, because that's what it is. They're absolutely responsible. Or in maybe the scale of how responsible they are could be argued, but they're responsible, involved. Shuttle run is garbage, yes. If I'm using Tesla Autopilot, it swerves when it's a new road sometimes, but I take control. Is there a ticket for that? You're entirely responsible for everything your vehicle does. If it swerves and is doing things that are swervy, expect to be investigated. You're using a test beta software. I don't think it should be on the road. You're entirely responsible. So swerving necessarily, or not necessarily a ticket, swerving causing collisions, swerving causing damage, or then you'd be responsible. And you, the driver, is responsible because you're the driver, even though Tesla is at the wheel pretending to know what it's doing. I have fairly significant feelings about this. By you using beta software, we're the test project, everyone around you. So be very careful. Pay attention. What made me want to become a police officer? The original story. I watched Chips as a kid, but I also had family in law enforcement. My dad's cousin was a federal agent, FBI, and cop, and all-around cool guy, and still is. And he was probably one of my earliest inspirations. But I also watched Chips, and John and Ponch were absolutely the reason I wanted to become a motor cop. And I got to say that I both achieved that dream and met the actors who played John and Ponch, Larry Wilcox and Eric Estrada. And they're going to be in, where did I say they were going to, where are they going to be? At the Comic-Con coming up in, we're here with, bloody hell. Hang on a second. Larry and Eric. Hamilton, I had to jog the memory. They're going to be in Hamilton. And possibly, if I can, I'll go because I want to say hello again. I went bowling with them and hung out with them earlier in the year. It was cool. Like, lifelong dream. Achieved. I don't know which one was more important, the becoming a cop or meeting them. It was very cool. Anyway, if your headlight is out, but it still has a surrounding light on it, is it a ticket? Yes. Your headlight is the projector bulb that actually projects lights and illuminates the road. It has more than 300 candela of power. And yes, my wife reminds me that marrying my wife was the highlight. But no, I'm talking about in terms of those two things, which one wins out. Of course, marrying you, honey, was the most important thing in the world. And our children and all that jazz. My wife is the moderator. She's keeping me in line. But I'm talking about between, the work thing, the police thing. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to get in such trouble. Okay, so yeah, your 300 candela power is what a headlight is. It's more than 300 candela. If your surrounding light is not a 300 candela, it's not projecting sufficient light, it's not a headlight. So it is a ticket. Are yellow fog lights legal? Yes, you're allowed to project yellow and or white light to the front of your vehicle, but those are the only two colors. Oh, interesting question. Someone wants to know how much they can speed before they get in trouble. I don't know, and I don't know for a reason. It depends on the municipality, how they have it set up, and it doesn't matter. Don't speed. I've heard different things from 10% to 10 kilometers, and I don't know the actual answer other than if you don't speed, you won't get a ticket. Okay. Good morning. If I cover the body of my vehicle in a wrap, and the wrap is a different color than the original paint, do I have to inform the Ministry of Transportation? Question comes from Radek on YouTube. And the answer is yes, you do. You have 6 days to change the vehicle information on registration. You have to apply for a new permit. 6 days. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be well, not just is it legally required, but what's going to happen is every time we look at your vehicle and we check your license plate and it comes up as blue, but it's now black, we're going to assume that those are stolen plates in a stolen vehicle or some variation thereof. So it's not only good for you because you don't get a ticket for not doing it, it's good for you because you don't want to waste your time at every intersection being pulled over by a different officer to find out why you haven't done what you're supposed to do. How do we participate in legislation of traffic laws? How do we, or how do you? Get involved with your local government. Talk to your counselors. Talk to the people that affect change in your community, because they ultimately speak to their representatives and pass the information upwards and onwards. Do you believe that the age limit for new drivers should be changed to not 16 but 19? I've been driving since I was 16. I don't see any issue with it. I think a lot of people don't drive until they're 19 or 20 or 30 in Toronto because there's no need. There's such a wide infrastructure of transportation options that driving is no longer a necessity for many, many people. And what happens is they learn to drive much later. The truth is, the more experience you have, the better driver you are. If you start your driving career at 16 and have 20 years experience before someone older gets their license for the first time, you are likely going to be a better driver. Additional benefits when you're 16, yes, you take higher risks, but because you're less afraid. People who are older take fewer risks, but are very often have higher anxiety about driving. There's a catch-22 here. We want people to become comfortable and get experience, and that doesn't always work if we're limiting our access. I don't have a perfect answer. What I would like to see is a higher standard, regardless of the age. I'm okay with 16, but I want it to be a higher standard. I don't want to give away a license to someone who's not qualified, and I think that's the problem we're seeing. We're seeing people get licenses, and it's too easy. So I don't care where you're from, what license experience you have, you should have to pass a test, and you should have to pass a strict test, or you shouldn't drive. Are large windshield stickers illegal? Yes. Akela is back. Can I modify my exhaust as long as I keep my cats? Well, you need catalytic converters for emissions, but you also need to have a muffler, and the muffler and combination thereof must meet the requirements of the Highway Traffic Act regulations. So if you make it noisy, that might be an unnecessary noise ticket. It might be an improper muffler ticket. You don't just have to have parts there. They have to work at the standard that is expected and required. But I like the spin on it. Can you get charged for changing the music on your car screen while operating a motor vehicle? Yes, you can. So on your cell phone, you absolutely cannot touch it. Only time you can touch your phone is if it's mounted and you're answering or hanging up on a call. But many people use, like myself, CarPlay. I have, and some people use Android Auto and whatever the kind of other options there are. And if you're sitting there, and let's take the Android Auto and CarPlay out of the scenario. You're playing with your air conditioner, and you cause a collision. And it's observed that you're using the air conditioning because that's what you're focused on. Your head is down. That's careless driving. So originally, the cell phone charge was it was introduced as a lesser offense to careless because you had your head and eyes, you were focused on a phone, which was careless, but they gave you a lesser offense. Instead of 6 demerit points and 395 or 390, whatever it is, it became 125. there was a lesser offense. Well, it has now grown to become a more serious offense than careless driving in the eyes of at least most people. $615 fine and 3 demerit points on the first time, 7, I think, on the second. And apologies for coughing in your ears, but yeah, things have changed. Anyway, it is still possible to get a charge for using your phone on the screen. Simply changing and advancing to the next screen in CarPlay or whatnot, no. You're probably not going to see a ticket for that because you're allowed to have contact with your in-car system. But you could, if depending on what's going on, if it's negatively impacting your ability to safely operate your motor vehicle, then you could get into a problem. Ryan Pinn, driving instructor extraordinaire, says, right of way is yours to give. Completely out of context, because that's not what we're talking about right now. That was a comment from 10 minutes ago. But I love you, man. This is what I still going to talk about it. Yeah, we're talking about people having an impasse at an intersection. Yeah, right of way is something you give. You can't take it. Yeah. Oh, man, so many new questions coming in. I got to scrolling back. Okay. We're selecting this. Okay. See, when new questions come in, it scrolls up. This week's schools across Ontario will be participating in the annual Terry Fox Run. Please be aware of the children in the community. I have not thought about that in forever. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, we'll have kids running all over the place. I didn't realize it was this week. Either way, fantastic opportunity to be involved in the community. And yes, drivers, pay extra attention. Not only are we dealing with the fact that school students are going to and from, but in general, there's just going to be a ton of people on the road. And very often, police are involved with helping ensure that this is done safely. But you know what? More caution is always better. Just be careful. Let's see here. I was asking about the stand-up scooter. Okay, the scooter question earlier on in the show, we were talking about stand-up scooters, the e-kick scooters. How many fines are being given? I see them all the time. They make me nervous driving in the city because they fly out of nowhere. They're not supposed to be here. How many tickets were charged or issued? I couldn't tell you. I don't know the stats. More and more are being charged. This is something you'll see increasing enforcement on because it's about an education curve. We've been talking to a lot of people, and when they get involved in collisions, they're absolutely being charged. But in terms of the number of e-bike or e-kick scooter riders that are being pulled over and charged on a daily, I don't know what the numbers are because we focus on the big four. We don't focus on e-kick scooters. I want to start up my petty station, my petty crew, where we go after all the stuff that is the lower priority stuff. I'd love to focus on this and make it a priority while still allowing officers to focus on the big stuff, the serious stuff. This is still important. I'd love to have a special task force of maybe auxiliaries and parking enforcement officers. I don't know, somebody. We need to still, and special constables. We just go after these guys. Okay. Regarding the podcast, Michael is here. Says the podcast being legal to drive with. I have placed my phone under the driver or passenger seat to have screen on play YouTube without premium, screen not visible. Yes, so what Michael's saying is he plays it on YouTube, whether it be live or replay, but the screen is not visible. That would be legal. However, you're burning your data playing that live. The replay on podcast is synchronized to your device, so you're not burning your data. And that's what I like about it. Donnie Sacco says, I once had an officer say Cam Woolley was a legend. I'm just curious if he's still a legend around your part. So I know Cam. He's a great guy. He's retired. He retired from the OPP as a sergeant. He went to CP24 and was a journalist. I think it's accurate to call him a journalist. He was the TV guy for 13 years. He's since retired. And I don't know what I haven't spoken to him recently. But is he a legend? Everybody knows his name. Absolutely. And he's got cool cars too. Thanks for mentioning Cam. I remember when he retired. Is it true that people are getting in trouble of using the new feature on Mercedes vehicles that bump up and down to get out of the sand? I've seen people playing with it. I don't know if there's a charge to lay for testing out your features. I do think it's ridiculous looking when being used to just stance and draw attention to yourself. But I've never seen anybody using it on the road. Put that question in the impound. Is there a ticket if you honk at a police car? No, there's no honking at police car ticket. It could be unnecessary noise if you're doing it for no reason. Expect to be investigated. If you're honking at a police officer for no reason, maybe they're going to try and figure out what's going on. Maybe you're asking for help. So why are you honking? So if you're looking for attention, that's a good way to get it. I'm using Tesla autopilot at swerves. We talked about this. Ryan honks at his friends in cop cars all the time. Yeah, we got, this is good. Good conversation here. Do we get street parking tickets on weekends? Whenever the signs say, like in more than 3 hours, so there's a 3-hour bylaw in the city of Toronto. You can't park for more than 3 hours on side streets unless you have a permit. So you can get tickets. I think they're enforced every day. Otherwise, follow the signs. Warplane Heritage Museum. I don't know what this comment is, what the context is. Grinch says, good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you for looking this up. The bicycle question earlier, my Shield Basic has expired, but not Chase's, who says the fine is $110 for not having a functioning light on a bicycle. Okay, question about entering an intersection while enter an intersection that is yellow, light changes to red in the middle. Will camera take pictures and issue a ticket? The answer is no, because you have to have crossed the line after it turned red in order for them to issue a ticket. Now, based on the way you've described it, I can tell you that if a police officer saw you, they would issue you a ticket for failing to stop for a yellow light. Yellow means stop. If it turns to red while you're within the intersection, it means it was a stale yellow and you chose not to stop and instead continued to go through, which means likely you could have stopped and chose not to. There's a distinction there. If you have a yellow that turns yellow just as you enter it, that would have been unsafe for you to stop. But yellow means stop unless unsafe to do so. And again, if it changes while you're in the intersection, you were either speeding or chose not to slow down and stop as required by law. Ba-dum-bum. Good morning, sir. I'm a truck driver and was wondering if it's still considered illegal for me to install clear UV tint on the front 3 windows of my truck. If it doesn't obscure your vision, if it doesn't have a reflective coating, if it doesn't have tint, then I see no reason why you couldn't have it. And I'm not aware of it ever being illegal. So you were saying, is it still illegal? Were you aware of it being illegal once upon a time? Because then maybe I'm not aware of something that is, in law. But if I'm not aware of it ever being illegal, if it doesn't restrict light from coming in, it's just UV filtering. As far as I know, that's illegal. That is legal, not illegal. But somebody who knows different, maybe Michael knows because he's a trucker, maybe knows the answer. What do we got here? Once you're a full G here we go. Once you're a full G driver, how do you know when you have more than BAC in your body? So first of all, full G driver is not the requirement. It is a full G driver who is 22 years or older can have more than 0 BAC. So how do you know when you have too much alcohol in your system to drive? Well, here's the simple thing. The simple thing is don't have drugs or alcohol in your system when you plan on driving. Make better choices. Plan ahead. Don't be like the 17 people over the weekend who were arrested in Toronto for impaired operation offenses. Having more than 0 is to give you the ability to have something, but so minimal that you don't have impairment features. Because if you're impaired, even if you're under the legal requirement, you're still impaired. You can still be charged. Only 2 minutes left before questions will stop coming in because I will not take them. And that's not because I don't like you. It's just because it's almost 11 and I've got other stuff to do besides this. And I do care, but we'll do my best. And I know that our moderator has a hard stop at 11, and then we'll be moderatorless, which is okay because I do not have the ability to. I won't have the ability to see new questions. So it'll just be simple as that. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. There are things, by the way, that you can buy to do your own screening. But if you're relying on that, if you're just trying to be less than 0.05 to avoid being taken off the road, that's not the goal. The goal should be to be sober, absolutely sober when driving. Is keeping up with the flow of traffic a defense for speeding? Absolutely not. Speeding is not allowed. Keeping up with the flow of traffic is why so many people speed. They think that, one bully bullies them into speeding, and then they don't want to have to respond back with any kind of, lawful behavior. No, it's absolutely not a behavior that is acceptable. No one is allowed to go over the speed limit other than police, fire, and ambulance, and they have various criteria for doing that. If you are speeding, even if you're going the flow of the traffic, you can be charged. Who gets the ticket? Whoever we stop. Is it fair? Yeah, you were speeding. I got 30 minutes to my next interview. Look at that. Are blue fog lights, are blue fog lights, that's not even fog lights. Are blue fog tint legal? You cannot project blue light forward. You can only project yellow or white. Yes. How did you guys do? Oh, the question about Ryan. Ryan, how was the storm? Good question. Oh, we got to flag that. Ryan Pinn's got a comment about young people. Covered this already. Okay, actually, that was the right one in the right time. The biggest problem with young people learning to drive is when children teach them to drive, which is why the GDL in Ontario and Nova Scotia has to have a minimum of 4 years experience. So when inexperienced people drive with inexperienced drivers, that's the biggest problem? I think that lack of professional training is a huge problem. So many people don't get professional driving instruction. I think that's a big thing. And I think, what else? I think that that the test should be, see it, my wife is going, bye, Leo wife. Yeah, so I think there's a lot going on, but the way Europe does it seems to be creating better drivers and strict enforcement. Then people actually choose to follow laws if they know they're getting a ticket. Like if you knew 1 kilometer over you'd get a ticket, like instantly, didn't matter if there was a police officer for 100 miles, your car would issue the ticket yourself, and there was no way of getting out of it, you would not speed. The only reason people break the law now is because they are willing to take the chance of not getting caught or getting caught, because the odds are generally fairly good. You can do it a few times, maybe even a lifetime before you get caught or without getting caught. So you're willing to take the chance. The problem is it's not about getting a ticket. It's about ending someone's life, injuring somebody. There's so many other things. Anyway, I'm going to keep on going on other things. I'll do my rants about stuff later. Comment is, love your show. And now the question comes, do you need a yellow sticker when a trailer is for personal use? It depends on the trailer. We're talking about a device, and generally for commercial motor vehicles, it depends on the rating of the trailer. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but hopefully tomorrow we'll have Sergeant Campbell back, and maybe we can talk about trailers or get a commercial vehicle inspector to talk about it. But there are some will require it and some won't. It's not as simple as yes or no. Okay, question about the past weekend in Wasaga Beach. Do you feel it was excessive, and how many fines were handed out, and how many of these will tie up court time? Just curious for a thesis paper from the police side. This is coming from the Grinch. So for anyone who's not understanding what we're talking about here, recently Wasaga Beach basically determined that they were going to heavily enforce and restrict access to modified vehicles that were, well, let's say this. They wanted to restrict modified vehicles. They have major problems in Wasaga Beach when it comes to car meets and stunt driving, and they're just completely out of control in anywhere where these things occur, but they've taken a pretty strong stance on how they're going to police it. They'd set up essentially roadblocks of kinds from what I gather from media, and they will check every vehicle entering the jurisdiction. Are they doing anything different than we would do anywhere else? Yes and no. They are inspecting vehicles as they enter. They have set up with sufficient police to enforce all of the laws. Instead of just randomly, occasionally looking at a vehicle based on happenstance, they look at every vehicle. and then they enforce every vehicle that is violating. I think it's brilliant. I think we should do it everywhere all the time. Everyone should come into the city of Toronto, should have to go through a checkpoint, and they should have their vehicle inspected, and we don't let people who are unsafe. The thing, it should be happening on the border when someone drives in from the United States. If they have dark tinted windows, they should be denied entry. If it's illegal here, it's illegal. And we shouldn't be allowing anybody to get away with it until they're randomly caught. We should check everybody. So I think, and this is a personal feeling, that there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, we should be charging people for speeding over the speed limit, even if it's only 10 over, instead of waiting until someone's doing 20, 30, or 40 over. Because by waiting until it's 40 over or 50 over, we're unofficially, through lack of enforcement, permitting the behavior. So we need to be a lot tougher. But people don't want us to be tougher because then we're being mean and they want to get away with what they want to get away with. So it's a catch-22. I don't have a good answer for you other than the answer I've given you, which is personal feelings, not corporate messaging. Okay. Questions. Are transports allowed to pass in the left lane? Transports should not need to pass in the left lane because transports can't exceed the speed limit. And it seems like everyone is going above the speed limit. In fact, transports are supposed to be limited to 105 kilometers an hour, which they should never even hit because the speed limits are generally 100 kilometers an hour. So can they pass in the left lane? My understanding is unless there's a sign present, they're not supposed to be there. Sorry, unless there's a sign. Even unless there's a sign present, they're not allowed to be there. But there's also a law saying commercial motor vehicles can't be in the left lane altogether. So they shouldn't be in the left lane, and they shouldn't have to pass. Can motorcycle brake lights strobe twice and stay on? Intermittent flashes of red light are illegal, but having it flash twice and stay on, I see no issue with it. It's not intermittent flashes of red light, which would be illegal. Some people may interpret that differently, but I don't see any issue with that at all. There are devices like I used to have high-low headlights. They would what's the word I'm looking for? They weren't wig-wag, but they would go high beam, low beam. Modulator. That's what it was. If I'm trying to register my motorcycle, do I need insurance? They will likely want insurance to put plates on it. Yeah, I believe so. I think you do. Because how else would you what are you doing with it? You're transferring ownership. You can transfer ownership, but you can't plate it without insurance, from my understanding. Question is, here we go. Are underglow allowed in Toronto? There's no specific law against underglow. If it's mounted in such a way that you're projecting light outward as opposed to simply downward, you may find yourself getting tickets for improper headlights or taillights or for things of that nature. But it's not. Ontario traffic laws are Ontario laws, not city laws. How come cyclists don't come? What is this? How come cyclists don't stop at four-way stops, and why do they move up in traffic at red lights? Cyclists don't stop at four-way stops because the cyclists who don't stop at four-way stops don't care about the law or believe somehow that it's safer. It's not. They treat them as the Idaho stop, is what they call it, which is called not stopping for stop signs. And it's illegal. They should get ticketed at every opportunity, as should any other motorist or violator under the Highway Traffic Act. Why do they move up in traffic at red lights? That is actually something that they can do because the laws about passing on the right are only applicable to motor vehicles, which is really disappointing for me because I think they should get ticketed. It could get careless driving if it was really reckless behavior, but simply the theory is that they're getting through to the front to stay away from the back. Same as motorcycles. They want the same thing, except motorcyclists are clearly defined as not, I shouldn't say they're clearly defined. What they're doing is careless, without question, and it's a lesser, if the cyclists are staying to the right, they're doing it. There's no obligation to leave them space, by the way. The obligation is when passing them to give them a meter. But if they're passing you on the right and they cause damage to your vehicle, that's a problem. Can a GV go on what is this? Can a GV go on HOV lane no matter how many people in the car? Do you mean EV? Electric vehicles, if they have green plates, can go in the HOV lanes solo. EV with green plates can go in. And it's actually a vehicle that qualifies for green plates with the green plate on the vehicle can go into the HOV as a solo occupant. Motorcycles can also go on the HOV lane solo. The ones in the city of Toronto, different situation though. because in the city it's based on the sign, not the plate. It's funny. Let me just block this person who wants me to spend money for follow back baloney. Oh, interesting question here. What? Oh, now we're, hello, waiting for it to refresh. Still waiting for it to refresh. Come on, question. Try again. Do we break it? Oh, yeah, we totally broke it. I went to block somebody and now. Come on. Maybe the show is over now. Well, it's really thinking. The back end stuff at YouTube is messing with it. Oh, well. Question was, what happens if, maybe I can erase it